a senior editor at Bike Magazine, where Bike's 2016 Bible bike test at the Kingdom Trails in East Burke, Vermont. And today we're looking at Norco's Revolver FS 9.3. This is a new model actually for Norco. It's what they're calling their dedicated XC race weapon. And there are 4 bikes in this line. This one sells for $3,050, which is kind of amazing because this is a full carbon fiber frame. Everything, seat stays, chain stays, front triangle, you name it. Also has a Sram Gx Drivetrain, has some Shimano M355 brakes, RockShox, Recon, Silver TK4, Monarch rear shock. But I guess the question is, we rode a lot of other, much more expensive bikes. How did this one fare?
I like this bike. This thing kicked ass. I love the way it handles. It is a very stable, flat, readable. You can do whatever you want with it. Just neutral handling. Suspension works really well, like very well. I thought it was the class of the group as far as rear suspension performance. It didn't feel, one thing I'd say, if there's anything that I thought in terms of a race bike thing, it didn't feel quite as like razor honed, make the small of your back hurt, lay down on the stem, just hammer effective as a couple of the other bikes that were here. But then a couple of those other bikes that I was thinking about it in terms of cost several $1,000s more and weighed a few pounds less as a result. I think if this thing had like lighter wheels on it, it would go toe to toe with anything out there. I liked it.
Yeah, I had a ball on this bike. Like, it was my last lap of the day, and I just like kept charging because I was like begging me to. I just could not, you know. Like, I would go into corners and just so hot because, well, this has a fairly low end set of brakes. It's like a Shimano kind of non-series brake. So there's not a ton of power in the brakes, and I would come in so hot and then just like stuff it into these corners like it were a trail bike with the seat down. But I was high posting and just railing, like cornering faster than I had on any other bike I'd ridden today, which was pretty amazing.
And I mean, the geometry on it it's not just an XC kind of a feel. I mean, has a relatively low bottom bracket. Yeah. I mean, you don't, like you said, your neck's not sore after you ride it. You get on it and you feel like you can really do anything with it. I have to disagree with you on that, on the rear suspension.
Me too.
That's it. We did this last year too.
Yeah.
What you got?
I kept dropping my sag, and it still felt kind of chattery. I mean,
really?
Yeah, it didn't make it overall less fun. I mean, it almost, in a way, especially on a lot of the sections on like the real nice bermy, rolly stuff that we had, it egged me on to really push it and like throw the rear end loose and jump and stuff. But like when I kind of just wanted to just like get a little feathery on the back end and just like down some stuff, like it felt a little bit choppy.
I think it was really progressive in that way. Like,
yeah,
it didn't try and soak up everything. Mm-hmm. But then when you pushed it really hard into stuff, it was very supportive, I think part of the reason that you could stuff it in the corners so effectively and really feel like, I felt like I could feel that real wheel exactly where it was. And then when it was sliding, I was like, yeah, it's sliding, but I'm cool. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was under control. Whereas with other bikes, when they start to break loose, you're like, oh God, I'm going down, I
rode this on my 4th lap, and immediately the bike felt right to me. And I started to ask myself, do I just have a bias because I tend to ride trail bikes, long mountain bikes? And this bike felt, fit-wise, more like that. And I found myself, even at times, even at the suspension, I didn't think it was quite as good as the Treks, but I felt because I was so confident on the bike that I could simply do more. Mm-hmm. And I think this gets back to, this is a Canadian company. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but a Canadian cross-country race is a more rugged cross-country race by and large than most stuff in the United States. And I think that, that thumbprint comes clear on this one.
When I started riding it and it was behaving like a trail bike, I was not surprised because it says Norco on the down tube, and I was like, yeah, of course it's going to ride like this, right? It's a cross-country race bike that doesn't really behave exactly like one, although it is. Like, I wouldn't call it, I would never put it into another category. Like, it definitely fits as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, but I'm curious, like, what did you guys think about that sector fork?
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I really believe in putting, like, manufacturers putting money into the frame and the rear shock, and then letting the rider upgrade things. The fork, that's not an easy thing to upgrade.
I kind of thought that they did it right in a way with that fork because it's overdamped. Like, it's hard to get through the travel. So it's like, they're kind of like, well, as long as it doesn't dive on the guy,
Yeah.
then it's cool, right? And I felt like it wasn't doing that, you know? It was standing up pretty much. It wasn't,
And it sort of
it
sat
wasn't
in
plush
balance with
really,
the
but
bike.
like it did what it would, you know, it did what it was supposed to do for a fork of that price range, you know? That's what I felt like.
Well, I think you can get a season out of it. And again, given that you're spending $3,050 as much as it typically costs for a carbon frame, and you're getting a full bike, this is one of the rare cases where it actually kind of makes sense if you wanted to upgrade the fork.
Oh yeah, it's like this is such a great base build, you know? You get the full carbon frame, that's the same frame as the one on the high-end model. And then, you know, you've got $3,000 in your pocket, you get that bike, and then you just start upgrading, you know? As soon
And
as you
everything
can.
that's on it
Boom,
works as it is
Yeah, it
right
works
now.
the way it
It's
is.
a totally
GX
rideable
one
bike.
bike.
It's fun to ride.
And GX, I mean, we haven't talked about the GX yet. That stuff is good, you know, it's a 1x11 just like all the other, you know, the higher end SRAM stuff, and it works similarly. Like, it's a different feel in the shifter, you know, it's less refined, it's less of
A
a
little less crisp, maybe.
crisp
Yeah.
feel, but
I
it works.
didn't feel that in the slightest.
Really?
Yeah.
The kit is a great value, but if for some reason like this was all throwing you off, you can get the whole frame for $2,125. Again, that's an entirely carbon frame. If someone has a kit hanging around that they wanted to build up on this, and it's worth noting this was a 29er, but they also sell an identical version in a 27.5.
Right.
Personally, that wouldn't be my choice for a cross-country bike, but if you don't want to do 29ers, you get the same bike or the same frame in 650B.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning.
No, there you have it. If you want to know more about this bike, check out our Bible Bike Test issue, and if you want to check out more bike test videos, go to bikemag.com.